everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Every Marvel Movie Ever. I'm your host, Gabe Thomas. With me, as always, is your co-host, Francisco Alcala. And we have finally done it, Franny. We have finally made it to a real film. And we've done a couple real films before, very few. But when I say when I say we've made it to real films, I mean from now on, everything is a real movie.
Everything actually has like a production value
and was theatrically released all over the world, and they're all actual films, and that's fucking incredible that we've done this. So big ol' round of applause for us. We are talking about Blade.
Yeah, and it was real good.
Have you seen it before?
I think I've seen parts of it, but I think this was the first time I've actually seen the whole thing.
Okay, where do we start with Blade?
Honestly, I don't know, because there's a lot.
There's so much I want to talk about. I don't know if I've ever had a conversation with anyone actually about this movie. I feel like I've watched this movie with people, and afterwards we were like, yep, on to the next thing. So I've never given Blade as much thought as I probably should have.
Because it's kind of a weird random movie.
Just because it's one of the most 90s movies, like most radical 90s, like just hippest movies I've ever seen. It starts with a blood rave.
Yeah.
And then it just goes on from there.
And also, the weird like club that it's happening in is hidden inside of like a
meat packing plant.
I was trying to think of what it was called, but I couldn't.
Okay.
The thing with all the cows on it.
Yeah, of course, the cows on the hooks from the 70s Captain America movie that we watched. Okay, let's just a little bit of trivia. Blade was released August 21st, 1998, with a budget of $45 million. It made $132.2 million. This might be the first time on the history of the show also that a movie has made back more than its budget.
This is the first successful movie.
Well, successful, but it also has a 54% in Rotten Tomatoes. Which
still technically successful.
It's fair, fine. It is a
also,
dumb
that's
vampire
really low.
movie. It's low, but it could be worse. I mean, it's Blade. It's not Logan. IMDb has a 7.1 though, so that's better. It was distributed by New Line Cinema, which I don't think New Line owned, because they do like Freddy and Jason and stuff, and I don't think they owned any other Marvel things except Blade. And of course, down the line, we'll be talking about Blade's 2 sequels at some point. I think we only have one movie in between. I think we do X-Men next week, and then the week after that is Blade 2, I'm pretty sure.
Unless it's a weird,
yeah, it's a weird gap.
Break.
Yeah, it really is. This was directed by Stephen Norrington, who I think is a real prick. But his only other major directorial credit is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Extraordinary gentlemen indeed. And women.
XLG, guys. Do you know what that is?
No.
That is the movie that ended Sean Connery's career.
Great.
There was this period from like in the late 90s, early 2000s, where Sean Connery kept getting offered roles, and then he wouldn't take them because he didn't understand them. And those roles were like Gandalf in fucking Lord of the Rings, and like Morpheus in The Matrix. But the point is like, no, it would be weird, but the point is like, these are like huge movies that led to huge franchises, and he missed out on both of them. Those are like $1 billion franchises or whatever. So then he was in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is basically an X-Men ripoff with like a bunch of like literary fictional characters. So there's like Dorian Gray and Sherlock Holmes and shit.
That sounds awful.
Oh, it's terrible. And this was written by our best friend from last week, David S. Goyer.
Oh my god.
Who we've already talked about, but if you missed our Nick Fury episode, which was pretty much a non-episode anyway, he wrote all the Blade movies. He co-wrote the Dark Knight trilogy. We think he's a total hack because he's worked on too many bad things, but also like very successful things. It's confusing.
I don't think anybody can be like as much of a hit or miss.
Yeah,
as he is.
It doesn't make any sense. Like if there's like a writer and they have mostly good stuff and then one bad thing, I'm like, okay, that's either they were just having an off period or it's studio interference type thing. But
like with this, it's like a 50-50 split.
And it's 50-50 and like it's like every other movie will be good, bad, good, bad.
Maybe he does it on purpose. He's trying to be unique.
Yeah, but also I think this might be the only thing that doesn't have a co-writer that he's ever written.
Really?
And this does contain some very
You tell him it's open season on all suckheads.
Choice pieces of dialogue, I would call them.
Definitely.
Blade first appeared in a comic I was just reading when you got here, Tomb of Dracula number 10, in July of 1973, created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. I love that the fucking author, or the person who created Blade's last name is Wolfman. That's fucking
Of course it is.
I bet that has to be like a stage name, right? Like that can't, his last name can't be Wolfman, and he writes like cheap horror comics.
I kind of hope that it's his actual name,
Yeah, I hope so.
but
too.
I really doubt it.
But also, that Blade didn't have superpowers for a long time. Blade was he was like an English guy, and he was just a vampire hunter.
Didn't he get changed in the comics after this movie? They just gave him all the
Yeah,
powers from the movie.
I don't know if it was after the movie or around then, but I think in the comics he was bitten by Morbius in the Peter Parker Spider-Man comics. I think that's where it is. I didn't write that down. I just wrote down the Morbius part. This was originally written for LL Cool J to be played. And then
Why?
they were it was either going to be like Denzel Washington or Wesley Snipes after that. And Wesley Snipes forever and what was like, he always wanted to be in a Black Panther movie, like since like the early 90s, and so they're like, fuck it, you can be in Blade, that's fine.
You can be a vampire instead.
Yeah, there was a video game of this for the PS1, which I watched a lot of, and it looks really fucking bad. I wanted to play it. I was trying to find a way to play it. I couldn't. There was a Game Boy Color game, which I definitely could have found a way to play, but I just didn't even look into that, because that's gotta be fucking terrible.
Is it like those old, like, Batman, Sega, like, Genesis games,
Those
like
are the
side-scrollers?
Those are the best games. The Adventures of Batman and Robin on the Super Nintendo was so good. Batman Begins on the Game Boy Advance. That's underrated. It's so hard. So, I guess, quick backstory on Blade. Blade is a daywalker, so he basically has all the strengths of vampires, none of the weaknesses, because his mother was bitten by a vampire right before she gave birth to him, and he hunts vampires with his friend and father figure, Whistler, and that's pretty much it. He's just a half vampire who hunts vampires. That's as simple as it gets, really.
That's pretty much all you need to know. It's like, the movie is just 2 hours of that, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. Blade is, of course, played by Wesley Snipes from Demolition Man and Passenger 57, which Passenger 57 is probably best known for having the piece of dialogue that gets parodied a lot, where it's like,
Charlie, you ever play roulette?
On occasion.
Well, let me give you a word of advice.
Always bet on black.
he's also opposite Woody Harrelson in White Men Can't Jump. So
Great.
And the villain, Deacon Frost, which is a terrible name.
Yeah.
Is played by Stephen Dorff, he's Cecil in the John Waters movie Cecil B. Demented, and when he was younger, he was in this like gateway horror movie called The Gate that I don't remember liking at the time, but I've seen some of it now, and I think it would be cool to go back to. And then Chris Christopherson plays Whistler, and he's just very famous for being a country musician. He's like very close with Johnny Cash, or he was when Johnny Cash was still alive. Chris Christopherson's still kicking around. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else is just I have lots of fun facts on this movie because it's a lot easier to find information on a movie when it's a real movie, not just a weird TV thing.
When it's a movie that people actually
that
like.
8 people have seen, probably. But I'll bring up all the other weird shit I have as we just talk about. So,
Did Wesley Snipes enjoy this?
Wesley Snipes is a weird man, and I think he's insane. We'll get way more into that in Blade Trinity. Patton Oswalt, he's in Blade Trinity, and he has a hilarious story about Wesley Snipes and how Wesley Snipes was so weird and scary. He talks about how like he would only communicate with the director by leaving post-it notes at a point.
What a fucking weirdo.
Because he was always just smoking pot in his trailer. And he would only answer the name Blade on set. He wouldn't answer to his real name.
He's just trying to get into character, you know?
He was doing a weird Jared Leto thing, I guess. Yeah, so I don't know. When I was researching this movie, I found something that was just like, Wesley Snipes was not giving this like 1,000% effort. And I think that's because Blade is just like a very cool character. Like in these movies, he's very cool, but he doesn't say much. And
yeah, and the stuff he says is usually like exposition,
or
just the most absurd shit you can think of.
The dumbest fucking one-line. Because so I think the most famous part of this movie is his last line to Deacon Frost.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Before I'd ever seen this movie, when I was like 8 years old I must have been, or something like that. My dad told me that line and was like, that's a line from Blade.
It's the best line in the movie.
It's
by far.
It's the most ridiculous, one of the most nonsensical, unexplanatory things you can ever say.
Like,
And I
okay,
love
one,
it.
who wrote that line? And two, what does it even mean?
Okay, I can answer your questions, actually. It was Wesley Snipes. That was
you
Wesley
serious?
Snipes' idea. He was talking about Deacon Frost to them, and he was like, Deacon Frost seems like the kind of guy who would try to ice skate uphill. And they were like,
What?
I will love... David S. Goyer was like, I love that. Let's put it in. So I guess that just means he does things the hard way.
Motherfuckers are always trying to ice
Some
skate
motherfucker
uphill.
always trying to ice skate uphill.
And then Deacon Frost blows up.
Yeah, he blows up. Oh, okay.
What a fucking action movie.
Well, what do you, yeah, I love the bit towards the end, jumping right into the end right now, but I love the bit when, like, he's got, it's Blade and that other guy, and they just keep, like, swinging around,
it's just
doing
Street
the high
Fighter.
kicks, yeah. But it's so fucking goofy. It reminds me of, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they're doing, like, the nunchucking.
A fellow chucker, eh?
It's so dumb.
Yeah, the last 15 minutes of this movie are so weird.
And I love it so much. Oh, shit, you haven't seen the Blood Tornado, have you?
I think I have.
Okay, good. This movie, if you're uninformed,
It was the alternate ending,
this
right?
movie has an alternate ending where Deacon Frost unleashes the blood god Lamagra and becomes Lamagra and becomes a giant CGI blood tornado that's like gonna take over the city and turn everyone into vampires or whatever, and Blade throws the serum at it, so it's just this red CGI goo that becomes blue CGI goo and blows up into more red CGI goo. And I kind of wish that's how it ended. But how it does end is with a weird sword fight where, like, he'll cut Deacon Frost in half, and then gross red CG puts him back together.
It looks like, to me, it looked like in Resident Evil 4. You
Oh,
know, the thing?
the weird...
Yeah,
head things
either that
have,
or
like,
that
the weird
one
stabby...
boss that's just kind of, like, stretched out.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But that's
I don't know what was up with that.
I mean, like, this, I guess he's become a blood god or something, which, alright, like, I'll take that, fine.
And then his hand growing back.
That's the worst one.
Yeah.
Because my dad was watching the last, like, 10 minutes, and he was like, oh, you know, I don't think it looks that bad. And then
It looks so bad.
Well, then that happened, and he's like, ah.
Weird hand thing.
It's so gross. It's this gross, like, CG hand. It looks like, it's a weird reference in, like, the Star Trek reboot when Kirk's hands get all big, but, like, red. There's a...
I don't know what that
Okay,
looks like,
don't
so...
worry about it. Did you notice the movie that early on they're all sitting around watching a movie, all the vampires are watching a movie, like, at Deacon Frost's weird lair? You know what they're watching?
No.
They're watching Mortal Kombat, the movie from
Oh my
1985.
fucking
Because that's
God.
another new line. They're watching the reptile scene.
That's so...
It's so weird. You see it for, like, a second, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why is it fucking reptile? But it's just because that's another New Line movie.
Yeah.
But also, why are they promoting that? Because it was 3 years before this, and I think Annihilation was the year before
It
this.
was just an Easter egg, you know?
Is that an Easter egg?
Probably.
That's like if they fucking started watching The Force Awakens and Civil War or something. Like, that's such a weird... Like, it
Yeah,
should have
I
at
don't
least
know.
been like a movie that just came out on video or something.
Not a movie that hadn't come out yet.
No, that had come out 3
Or,
years
yeah, no, yeah.
earlier. So, like, why are you promoting it? I don't think the theater to VHS release was 3 years, like, that 3 year window.
Yeah, I think...
that I know about. That's ridiculous.
I think
right?
if you were gonna advertise it, the window passed, like, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's such an odd choice for... Also, like, that's such a... Because he has that weird henchwoman chick that... And she's got the weird, like, feathered, frosted hair.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. It's so edgy with the fountain thing. It's got all the rubber duckies in it or whatever. It's so bad, dude.
So dumb.
It's so dumb. Oh, yeah, okay, you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about how the whole time his mom was alive, and Deacon Frost had his mom the whole time. Deacon Frost was the vampire who bit Blade's mom to turn Blade into half vampire, but also she's alive, and she gets so sexual with her son.
Yeah.
And it's so
I thought she was
bizarre.
gonna, like, kiss him.
And
it was gross.
It's almost worse because she's so like suggestive and like almost doing it, and it's like very like
like they get really
it's
close.
so
to being
intimate
real creepy.
and uncomfortable. Also, I'm pretty positive that actress is younger than Wesley Snipes, and she plays his mom. Whatever, vampires, they don't age or whatever. It's fine.
It's
sure
whatever.
but I think there's a big age difference there.
Definitely.
In the wrong way. When they put him in a weird, like, that weird styrofoam, like, man indent that perfectly fits him so they can drain his blood.
It literally just looked like they put him in, like, the case for an action figure.
Yeah,
then they, like,
it's
tie
like
him
that.
down with, like, the...
It's like the thing in Toy Story 2. Like,
Yeah.
those, when they're going to Japan or whatever in the airplane. Like, it's like that. It's so...
Yeah, the little, like,
fucking
suitcases
bizarre.
or whatever.
Exactly. Things that you put collectible action figures in.
And it, like, fits him
And
perfectly.
it drains his blood from, like, one wrist. Like, he's bleeding out one wrist. Let's talk about the rave first, where that chick takes the most 90s man I've ever seen to this rave. And what does he say? Because I watched the rave scene, like, last week, because I watched this over the course of several days, because things just kept coming up where I couldn't watch in one block, so I watched it in, like, 3 separate parts.
Woo! Look at all that.
Yeah, and then she takes him to this rave, and he's like, "Oh man, this is great." Blood starts coming out of the sprinklers, and all the vampires start lathering up in it, because everyone in this movie has a blood fetish, which I guess vampires would. But is it usually like a sexual lust for blood?
I
Because
don't
it is
think-
in this.
Yeah,
And then they
but,
all...
like, that's kind of... I feel that's, like, the same thing as, like, a person having a sexual attraction to, like, food.
Yeah,
Like, that's just weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Like there's a different scene later, I think, where they're like rubbing blood all over each other and licking it off of each other, whenever. It doesn't bother me. It's just weird.
It's just a, like, random detail to add.
Yeah, it's very odd. I guess it's just because they were trying to be real edgy about it. Everyone in the club is a vampire. Also, my favorite character we meet here, Quinn.
Oh my
Quinn
god.
is there. He's played by Donald Logue. And he is, like, the comic relief, I guess, of the movie.
I feel like he's, like, the best and worst part of the movie.
Because he's so annoying, but he's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with him.
Even
but
though
I think
he's
pretty
so
great.
annoying, most of the shit he says is kind of funny. So, like, you're annoyed, but you're also still laughing.
Yeah, which I'll totally take that. That's fine with me. And
I mean, at
he's,
least
like,
it's not just
But
annoying.
he's, like, getting, like, a clothed blowjob in the background of the scene. And also, this is Deacon Frost's nightclub, which is weird. I don't think I ever noticed, because it's a weird thing where they just run into Deacon Frost, like, real quick in the very opening. But, like, they don't address him. It's just, the camera lingers on him for a second, and it's like, oh, okay.
There he is.
I remember that guy, I guess. Blade shows up, and he fucking wipes... It looks real bad, because there's all these really weird CGI skeletons, but it's still fucking awesome how he just takes everyone out with these weird, like, weapons.
I don't know how I feel about, like, how the vampires die. Like, with them, like,
How they turn
disintegrating into a skeleton.
Into weird animated skeletons, yeah.
Like, that's
well,
just
you see
weird.
that again in the first Spider-Man movie, remember, with that pumpkin bomb, and then all those guys turn
Oh,
into
yeah.
skeletons. I guess that was just the thing at the time.
I guess, but it
It
just
doesn't look great.
it doesn't look great, and it's also, why do vampires disintegrate when they die?
I don't know. Like, it makes sense the one time where they take that guy out to be burned by the sun. Also, that's a weird scene. I
Yeah,
don't know
that's a
why
weird
that
out of
exists.
place scene that's, like,
They just rip
really...
that guy's fangs out and burn him to death.
It's really brutal.
It's
Like, he
super
fucking-
brutal.
He melts and then explodes.
I kind of like it, but it's so random, and I don't know who that guy was. I guess he was just another head of the vampire thing.
Yeah,
'Cause
I think that's
Deacon
what it
Frost's
was.
work is like he's in this weird cult of vampire leaders, and he's one of the leaders. And the vampires are like slavers. Like they brand other vampires who are called like familiars, I think, and they basically own them, and those are the henchmen. But it's weird that
I
it's
think the
that kind of-
familiars are like human. I think they're actually humans.
Yeah,
and,
and they want to be turned into
Yeah.
vampires because later on there's that cop, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm waiting to be turned by Deacon Frost, but I have to do this first. I don't love the vampires own the police and everything. Like, that's weird.
Dumb.
That's dumb. That's just
But
a
like,
little
of
bit.
course they do, because they're the villains of an action movie.
Yeah, it's like that's everything. The mob owns the police, the vampires own the police, whatever. Like, I always shrug that kind of line off because like yeah,
Because it's in every
okay.
movie.
It is. It's such
It's
a
just an
cliche.
excuse for like the villains to not get in trouble.
It's like that a lot. Like, I think it works in something like The Dark Knight, where the whole thing is that in Gotham City is corrupt. Like that's the point of the whole city.
Yeah.
But when it's
Gotham
just
City
when
is
it's
literally just
fucking,
made
like,
to be the worst.
I think this movie's supposed to be New Orleans, but you would never know that. Like
I had
there's
no clue where it was supposed to be taking place.
I think it's just there's like a map that Blade pulls out at one point and it says that.
I just
and that's
kind of-
the only time because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I just assumed it was New York because that's where every Marvel movie takes place.
No, it's safe to assume everything is probably in New York because it usually is.
Yeah, I feel like probably 90% of action movies either take place in New York or San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a whole lot of variation
No,
on
yeah.
that.
Well, those are the two biggest cities because you can easily show the Statue of Liberty or the Golden Gate Bridge because just landmark it up. How do you feel about the action in this movie? Because it's the year before The Matrix, and The Matrix is really the moment when action changes for the better, and everything beforehand when you go back to it is kind of like, oh.
It's very late 90s, early 2000s. Like, a lot of jump cuts.
And but what's weird is this is pre-Matrix, but there is that bullet dodge scene, like the bullet time.
Yeah.
When Deacon Frost fucking chucks a little Asian girl through a glass window and
I
almost
didn't
gets hit by a
expect
truck.
that. That
That's
was
so
so-
funny. That's hilarious. That he just picked that chick up and fucking chucked her. She's like a little girl too. She
Yeah,
looks like the
she's like
same little girl
10.
from Spider-Man 2 that he saves. Like it's just like this innocent little Chinese girl that he fucking throws through a glass window or whatever it is, and then she almost gets hit by a truck.
It's funny, but also it's really fucked up and weird, like out of place.
And you have to remember in that scene that also he's lathered himself up in sunscreen to not be burned by the sun.
But like what?
So I guess that's a pretty easy fix. That's got to be a lot of fucking sunscreen.
Yeah, I don't think that's how sunscreen usually works.
I've never liked that decision. I think even when I saw this movie when I was like 10, I was like, that's fucking dumb. I don't like that.
Because it is.
Oh my god, you know what corner at what I want to talk about right now? Can we talk about Pearl the vampire?
I was so confused so disgusted.
It's so upsetting, but it's kind of badass because it's like an animatronic thing. Like it's not super CG, and that's great because now that would be so fucking CGI. I saw It Chapter 2 last night, and it is the biggest like CGI fest you've ever fucking seen. It's not good.
I'm not shocked at all.
It's not good. I really like that first one. I was really upset.
Just call me angel of the morning angel.
Okay,
I feel like everything about it was awful. That design is awful. The voice is awful.
but it's kind of cool.
The screeching is awful.
But it's cool.
It looks like a Men in Black character.
Yeah, it really does. And this is the year after Men in Black. So it makes a lot of sense. So 4 puppeteers operated the limbs and then 1 worked the head. So 5 people had to do this. I think I read somewhere it was like 600 pounds of like fake skin or whatever.
It's disgusting.
And apparently the director Stephen Norrington said that Pearl is so big because she's addicted to eating the hearts of children and infants. Did you get that?
That's not an... Okay, 1, there was nothing in the movie to like suggest that, and 2...
Why? Why?
How does that happen?
Apparently.
How do you become like 900 pounds from eating hearts?
Apparently Pearl was supposed to be a gay character, was going to have a little boy in her lap.
Of course.
His lap, I'm sorry, it's not a girl.
Can we talk about that lamp?
Which
the
what?
ultraviolet
Oh my
lamp
god.
or whatever?
He has like an ultraviolet flashlight.
I feel
that
like
he
it's so
uses
dumb.
To I think it's fine. It's very like Underworld. Like it's like whatever vampire weapon.
Yeah,
That's
but it's
okay
just-
with me.
But then they use it
Oh,
in
wait.
that one scene.
And then never again. I think they
Yeah.
use it again in Blade 2 maybe. Whatever. It's a vampire killing weapon. I'm not really against it. I don't really have any thoughts about it, to be honest. What I do love is the weird like disc thing that he uses in the opening of the movie. Like that disc that opens up and then he throws it through all the vampires and then catches it.
Oh yeah.
That's badass. I'm okay with that. That's rad. Also, I love his sword. and I think I once tried to buy his sword.
Of course you
on
did.
Amazon because I wanted it. The thing about that sword is it's really impractical for sword fighting because sword fighting swords are supposed to have like a guard.
Of course
or
you
else
know
you
that.
can't use it for sword fighting. His just doesn't because it looks cool, I guess. So fuck that.
Yeah, because he can't have a guard if he wants to have the little spinny thing that cuts people's
I don't
fingers off.
like that. It's weird. I like when it actually
makes
cuts-
sense, but it's dumb.
I like when it cuts someone's hand off, but I'm confused by how it works and how it senses people.
I don't know. It works so slow too. Like it takes like a full minute.
Yeah, it does. Except at the end when it needs to work really quick
Yeah.
to break those styrofoam rocks out of the wall and get the serum back. What do you think about because a lot of the end of this movie is vampires like exploding, not exploding into skeletons, but getting huge and super red, like the fucking
then, like,
killer tomatoes,
gallons
and
of
exploding.
blood.
Of CG blood, of bad
Yeah.
CG blood. Which CGI blood to me is the worst CGI thing because it's
Definitely.
so lazy and
And
it looks terrible.
It's so easy to tell, like when it's
'cause
CG or when it's real.
It's just a plug-in. Like all the later, I think like Saw 4 and onwards use CGI blood. The first time I ever remember noticing it is in Kick-Ass. They use a lot of CGI blood, and I just remember thinking like this is not good. And then I noticed it in a lot of things after that. It's like why not? Like
just
why not
looks
just
so
use normal?
off.
I know working with fake blood can be like annoying because it's gross and sticky or whatever it can be if it's left out in the heat. Like Tim Roth always talks about how in Reservoir Dogs that room was so fucking hot that he was basically glued to that floor like the whole time because he's in that pool of blood the whole movie. It's a pain, but fucking do it in your vampire movie. It's
Yeah.
lazy.
I mean, if the entire like point or like one of the biggest parts of the movie is blood,
Yeah.
maybe you should use real blood instead of really bad looking CG
And they
blood.
use, I mean, obviously they use real blood in like the nightclub when you have to, because you need everyone to be covered in blood. You can't do that in CG. I'm sure now you could, but I don't even want to know what that looks like. It's very like Big Trouble in Little China when they like blow up. Like I think that looks a lot of fun. That like it looks so odd and absurd that I
Yeah,
like
it was just so weird to see like for the first time.
Yeah, no, it's really weird, and you don't really expect that to happen. So
Yeah, because like when they show it off, it's just kind of because it's just like that mixture or whatever that when you add it to vampire blood or whatever, it blows up. I don't think you exactly expect them to like expand and then blow up.
no, I wasn't expecting them to get fucking huge and have weird red tumors all over their body before
Yeah,
exploding.
I didn't think it turned them into like weird balloons.
I guess because Karen's a doctor and she's working 9 to 5 at the office.
Working 9 to 5.
She was able to figure that out because of the hemoglobin or whatever, but I had to do it.
Yeah, I was waiting for
Oh,
it.
and speaking of working 9 to 5, there is a fucking cat fight in this movie, a 1998 cat. Because we need to talk about Karen, who's not really the romantic interest, which is probably good. Like, there's some romantic subtext, but it's kind of good that this movie it doesn't have a forced romantic subplot. It's just like, this is a woman and she is working with them. That's good. Yeah, not everything needs to be romantic all the time. I thought
She's
that
a
was
woman
good.
and she can actually be helpful.
Yeah,
Unlike most other like
women in movies, especially of the late 90s.
Yeah.
And just this era. She's played by Anne Bush White. I don't know if that's how you say it. But, you know, she's good. She's not in it as much. I feel like she kind of, towards the end, she's kind of not in it quite as much. Like, she's there, but she's not doing as much except for that weird cat fight that she has with the frosted tips blonde lady, who kind of reminds me of Simon Gruber's henchwoman in Die Hard 3. It's that kind of weird relationship. I love the bit when Quinn gets all burned up, like at the start of the movie, where Blade just fucking sets him on fire.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And then
That guy gets so fucked up like all the time. And
But I
kind of feel bad for him.
I love after that when he gets taken to the hospital and then he fucking just like lets loose in that hospital and just like sprints and jumps out the
Yeah.
fucking window. Like that looks so good because it's practical and it looks great because it's just like this charred skeleton.
Okay, what happens to this guy? He gets lit on fire.
He loses both of his arms.
Yeah, he loses both of his arms like 2 separate times, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's the same arm. I think he loses the same arm twice.
Oh, you think so?
I think-
thought it
I
was
think
different
so.
arms because then he does like the I got both arms now. I don't know which one to kill you with thing at the end. I
Maybe.
thought it was maybe he lost the same one. Point is, he lost his arm at least.
Yeah, so he
lost
got
at
lit
least
on
his arm
fire.
twice.
He got both of his arms cut off. He had his face dragged on a train,
Into a fucking
on
train,
a moving train.
into a speeding fucking train.
Um,
That's a great action sequence. The train. That's one of my
yeah,
favorites.
I
That's
think
so cool.
is that it?
I don't know.
And he also dies at the end really
Oh,
easily.
yeah, and he dies. Does he die?
Yeah.
What happens to him? Because I think he's in Blade 2. So I don't know if
How?
he's
I'm
dead.
pretty sure he gets like decapitated or something,
then
and then he
he's-
just kind of like turns into a
He's
skeleton.
probably
So
dead. I have a vivid memory of Blade 2. I've only seen Blade 2 once. I've seen this one more times. And most people like Blade 2 more. I don't know if I do or not. I guess we're going to find out soon. I think it's still a lot of fun. And Norman Reedus is in it for some reason. And Ron Perlman, because it's a Guillermo del Toro movie.
oh, okay, of course.
But I have a vivid memory of in Blade 2, Quinn is like he's at like a private show at a strip club or something. Like it's or not like a strip club, but it's like one of those like glass boxes that you watch and like the naked ladies dancing inside. I have a vivid memory of him there, and Blade surprises him and kills him there in Blade
Maybe.
2. I think
I
that's
thought
how
I saw him
I'm
die,
gonna look
but I
for
could be
the
wrong.
for the cast just because I don't remember if he's in it. What? Fucking Donnie Yen is in Blade 2? But it says Man in London Porno Shop is somebody. So, find out about that in 2 weeks. Oh shit, you know what else is weird? Donald Logue, who plays Quinn, is also in Ghost Rider for some reason. No, it's the same
As who?
character. Just he's in it. As like, I think he's just Johnny Blaze's friend.
I feel like I recognize him from it,
Yeah.
but I don't know from what scenes.
So that, yeah.
I just feel like-
I think I can remember a scene that he's in.
It
or
seems
whatever.
like it's the kind of movie that he would be in.
There's that bit where, isn't there that bit where he's like, oh, you know, you got an angel watching over you, JB, or whatever, and he's like, it's not an angel, it's up the nose, and he looks in a window and it flashes the skull.
You got an angel looking after you.
Maybe it's something else.
I've seen Ghost Rider a shocking amount of times. I think
Yeehaw.
he's in there. Yeehaw. But Donald Logue, actually, in that hospital scene, I think maybe the first time they did it, he broke his fucking jaw. Or, like, he dislocated his jaw, because apparently once he'd been in a fight where he got, like, punched in the jaw or something, and he broke it. And so if it gets hit the wrong way, it'll dislocate. And that happened, like, the first time. And so when they took him to the hospital, since he's covered in the burn makeup, they thought they were treating a burn that happened. But he's like, no, that's the wrong thing. Props to the makeup artist, because it looked that good. So that they thought that was why he
I
was
mean,
in
it did
there.
look pretty good.
It looked great. That's one of the better effects in the movie. Stan Lee actually was gonna have his first theatrical cameo in this movie. He was gonna be one of the, because the cops show up at the nightclub in the start. He was gonna be one of those cops, which I feel like he's a cop in a lot of Marvel
Yeah.
movies going forward. Like in Hulk 2003, he's like a security guard.
Stan Lee was gonna be a vampire.
That'd be great.
Stan Lee gets
He
killed
could
by
have
Blade.
been. He could have Deadpool style been the DJ at the.
Yeah.
I bet that DJ was somebody, was like a 1998 era celebrity
Oh, yeah,
that we
definitely.
didn't recognize because we weren't alive in 1998.
Obviously.
This is just a weird fun fact. Skeet Ulrich wanted to be Deacon Frost. You know who Skeet Ulrich is?
Don't.
Okay, he's
Or wait.
he's Billy in Scream. So like
Fuck.
so like pseudo Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
like weird clone Johnny Depp.
Weird.
Because movies don't make psychos, Sid. Movies make psychos more creative. Skeet Ulrich and fucking, I can't remember his name, Steven Dorff. Steven Dorff and Skeet Ulrich have the same energy, I feel like. Like I
A
can,
little bit.
that's fine, but also this is like 2 years after Scream, and so like I feel like he's still a little young to be the head of this fucking weird organization when he's supposed to be like 17
Yeah.
in Scream. So that's weird. I have no idea how old he actually was at that time, but that's
Probably
just
like
a weird
30.
That's a
because
weird
every
little
high
thing.
school actor's like.
Yeah, probably. David Fincher, who everyone would know for directing Seven, Gone Girl, Fight Club, Panic Room, fucking every goddamn movie that's ever been made in the history of the world, and Alien 3, was gonna direct. He directed Seven, mystery thriller Seven, with fucking Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt, and after that he was gonna direct Blade. So that was
That's
gonna
weird.
Be his,
That'd be a weird.
that was gonna be his big follow up to Seven. I would love to see a David Fincher, because David Fincher is known for being a perfectionist. Like, he did Zodiac, and there's a bit in Zodiac when he makes Mark Ruffalo like throw a notebook into a car like 400 times because he needed to get it right or whatever. Like, he's that level. I would love to see his version of Blade, because it would be
God.
fucking hilarious. Goddamn it.
when Blade gets shot in that hospital
That's
scene.
that's my.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
That's so funny because
Yeah.
I always
They're so
forget
out
it.
of place.
And it's so good.
And,
Because
like-
he never has another reaction to anything like that in the whole movie.
Yeah, the entire movie he's like super serious, and then there's just those two lines. Like
Oh, I
out of
love
nowhere.
I love when he, this will definitely be the YouTube thumbnail. I love when he like pins Quinn to the wall and then he does like the fist pump.
Oh, yeah.
That's so good. And, like that's
Like,
the most 90s
There's
thing
so
I've
much
ever
like
seen.
weird random shit that seems so out of character for him to do, but at the same time like it still works.
And it's hilarious and it kind of fits.
Yeah. Blade
I don't know
seems
why
like the
it
kind of
works,
guy
but
that would say that.
Some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill. If
Exactly.
anyone's gonna say that, it's gonna be Blade. Yeah.
Blade seems like the kind of guy to light a vampire on
On
fire
fire.
and then fist bump. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. What a goddamn! This movie is a gem. I'm really
Yeah.
glad it exists. I wouldn't change any of it because like everything about it makes it such a time capsule.
even like all the like gross blood effects.
Oh, especially
I still love them,
Yeah,
even though
it's-
they're disgusting
This
looking.
movie should be exactly like this
Yeah,
because it's
there's-
so,
I can't
it's
imagine it any other way.
perfectly campy and goofy, and it's only like 21 years old. I mean, like that's a long time, but in the grand scheme of
God, that
things, in
sounds
movie making,
so long ago.
yeah. You know what? Actually, that's kind of scary to think about. 1998 was that long ago.
Yeah.
Does this movie make you more or less excited for the new Blade? And I know it's a ways away.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty far off. I think this movie definitely got me more excited for Blade because I was already excited for Blade because I knew that like the Blade movies were kind of weird.
Oh, they're super weird.
So
Especially
I'm
Blade.
just kind of hoping that MCU Blade is like as weird as
It won't
this
be
one.
as campy and goofy though. It'll be more.
I
like,
mean, it's Marvel.
yeah, but it'll just
Every character's a joke.
yeah. Well, everything is a joke in those.
Exactly.
movies. So it'll be a joke. It'll be but it won't be like this. Like it won't. Be
I
like
hope they have
him
an
fist
Ice Skate
bumping
Uphill
or-
reference.
Yeah, that'd be great. MCU's first F-bomb. Just do the whole thing. You know, oh yeah, I can't wait to get to Blade Trinity, where we get Ryan Reynolds and a vampire Pomeranian, and the main villain is Dracula, but they call him Drake. They get more 2000s as it goes on. Like they get more dated, I think.
I think just from that I can tell.
But 2 has one of my favorite like monster designs in any movie. It's the vampires who like their mouths open weird like that. Like they open like from the chin and like all of this opens up and it looks so cool because it is Guillermo del Toro and it looks like it's practical and it looks fucking awesome and I can't wait. I can't wait to watch Blade 2 again. I think it's gonna be great.
But instead we have to watch X-Men first.
X-Men's a movie I've seen so many fucking times though.
I remember X-Men being pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty
but
good. I've seen it a lot.
I remember it being kind of slow also.
I don't think it's shorter than this. It's only an hour
Like,
44.
Yeah, this movie's 2 hours long.
Yeah, I am very excited to talk about X-Men. We'll get to discuss the line, do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else, so
It's so dumb.
I'm definitely going to go back and play a bunch of X-Men movie tie-in games. Because
I'm not going to be able to look at Cyclops without thinking of the fucking...
Of the headcanon thing.
Yeah.
That's so great. I'm really glad that exists.
It's like the one good thing that came out of Dark Phoenix.
Have you seen the Comcast thing about Dark Phoenix?
No.
Well, Comcast, like, on demand, Dark Phoenix, it says Dark Phoenix and then hyphen an X-Men fan's worst nightmare.
Wait,
Like,
are you
somebody
serious?
programmed that in. Like, whoever put the movie in did that.
That's great.
And that's great. I hope they don't lose their job, because that's hilarious.
I hope they get a promotion.
Yeah, I hope they become the fucking president of the world after that. That we need somebody with those kinds of opinions about Dark Phoenix. Yeah, there was a scene where that was in like the original shooting script, and they were like, the studio was like, no, where Whistler and Blade had like a vampire baby in a jar, and they were gonna try out all these like they were basically gonna test weapons on this baby.
Yeah.
To see if they
I
worked
can
against vampires.
I can see why that would be a no.
I'm glad that didn't exist, and I'm glad that Pearl wasn't a weird pedophile also.
Yeah,
I didn't like
There was
that.
a lot of weird writing decisions in this movie that got cut out for the better.
Yeah, and the blood tornado. I think, does that wrap up our Blade discussion?
I think so. I think we've gone over all the mostly good stuff.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot.
There wasn't a whole lot not to like.
It's definitely better than anything we've ever watched on this fucking
yeah.
show. It's number 1 on my list right now, at least. I mean,
well,
as far
not
as-
counting the...
No, not counting those. Those don't count. I don't count those. Those aren't on my list, though. I only put the ones that we're watching in order up
Yeah,
there.
okay. Then
But-
yeah, this is definitely at the top.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's
Like,
really
by
great.
far.
Definitely, yeah, because this is a real film. Wesley Snipes is a lot of fun, even if he's kind of stilted, and it's just
I
fucking.
think
it's
he's
a,
kind of stilted because that's just, like, the character.
yeah, it is, and I just think it's a great vampire movie. It's a really fun time. It's just fun. Like that's all it really is fun.
I feel
and-
like this is
you can put it on and just immerse yourself in it for 2 hours. It's a fun world to be in.
But I feel like this is like a Howard the Duck situation where like it's a Marvel movie, but it doesn't feel like a Marvel movie like at all.
It's very gory in a lot of places.
There's a lot of swearing, which is like weird for a Marvel movie.
Yeah, we don't really see this again until like Deadpool. Like that's the next time that this kind of thing happens, and yeah, it feels more just like a vampire movie than a superhero movie.
But, I mean, that's not bad.
No, and next week we're talking about a real superhero movie, and that's gonna be fun, where there will be an equal amount of black leather.
And there will be possibly more bad effects.
Yeah, probably.
Definitely more bad effects, because all of them have superpowers, and did it come out
2000.
in 2000? Okay.
The claws look great, though. The claws look really good in all those movies except X-Men Origins.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not X-Men Origins,
Roger
like,
Rabbit
clinking
claws.
them together, but they're
Sparks.
not even touching.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry that we missed last week and I didn't even post anything about it, but
It's all Gabe's fault.
It's my fault. It's all my fault, as always.
Just like everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Franny? You gonna edit the podcast?
Sure.
Oh, well,
No.
wow. This is
Weren't
great
expecting that.
news for me. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Yeah, I think this is probably normal episode length at this point, because we don't have to explain every aspect of the movie. We can just kind of talk about various things that we liked in it.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to cut this down and you're like, it's 20 minutes.
Well, that's fine. That'll get our listens up way higher if it was
Yeah.
20 minutes long. Oh man, maybe I should be doing that and just making these videos. But that's okay. that's we'll think about that another day. Thank you for watching or listening to this. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and like and comment and share with all your friends if you're watching this. I mean, listening to this anywhere
Kid,
else.
get it together.
Whenever I miss a week, I fuck this whole thing up. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Podcasts or Podcast Addict or wherever you are listening to this, definitely subscribe to us if you enjoyed this. If you hated this, share it with your friends and tell them how much you hate it. Leave a nice review.
I mean, if you hate it, then share it with your enemies and make them suffer too.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're very unfunny and we want everyone to know about it. So please push it down everyone's throats that you know about.
Force them to watch it, like with those like the eye things where you force their eyes
from
open.
A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Except there isn't really anything to watch because it's a still
Yeah, it's a
image.
good point.
Yeah, whatever. Make them watch Blade because it's a lot of fun. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at MarvelMoviePod. You can find us on Gmail at marvelmoviepod@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at FlippedEgg. You can find me on Twitter at FlippedEgg, but the E in egg is a 3, because that's just how we do things here on the show. Franny belongs to a secret vampire cult.
Yeah.
And
I've got like a couple days left.
the light from the screen actually it burns him alive because
No, actually, I'm actually pretty good. I got sunscreen.
Oh,
got a lot of
shit.
Got a lot of sunscreen on.
Well, Franny, your mascara is running.
Oh shit.
Okay, thank you so much for
I gotta go
listening,
put on
everybody.
more sunscreen.
That's probably everything. I don't know if we forgot anything.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
We hate you.
What?
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.